Hey everyone, and welcome to a very weird episode of the DarkCast, a first of its kind. In this particular case, I got to have a hands-on demo with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then I sat down with Alan Kessinger to talk about my time with the game, and I've gone through and tried to match up the game footage with the podcast as much as possible. In the regular podcast, I will go on to describe things that don't need descriptions here because we have eyes and you can see what's going on in the video. So let us know if you enjoy this. It's really long, I know, but I had a lot of fun playing this game and I wanted to talk about it a lot. So we did. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you want to find out more about the game, then check out darkstation.com. But as for now, thank you so much for watching, and on with the show. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the DarkCast. I'm Jonathan Miley. Joining me for this episode is Alan Kessinger.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Is that how it goes?
I have no idea.
It's been a while.
Okay, so if you haven't guessed by, clicking on this video or listening to this podcast, given its name, we're here to talk about Assassin's Creed, which is coming out very soon. It was originally announced for November 17th, and is now actually coming out a week earlier to coincide with the Xbox One launch. Or no, that's a long time ago. The Xbox Series.
Right. Yeah.
Series
Get it right,
XS.
please.
I know. I'm sorry. So accompanying our conversation will be lots of gameplay footage if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio podcast, then we haven't figured out a way to, stream video into your ears yet, but we're working on it. So
yeah, we got the lab boys and girls are working on it as we speak.
Indeed. Okay, so recently I got to have a massive demo with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Last time, so I got to play it several months ago, and then I got the opportunity to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla again. And I was like, yes, please. I liked Odyssey. I will take one more. And this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2 Viking Edition. Like, if you weren't aware, that's what this is. And if you're not happy about that, I am sorry, but yeah, I am here for it.
It has a very distinct flavor. This is definitely new Creed, like new Coke.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, at first, after playing Odyssey, I was a little wary about it because Odyssey is a beast of a game. Like, I felt more overwhelmed by that than The Witcher 3, and I was overwhelmed by The Witcher 3. But having watched all the footage that has come out and what the stuff that we're going to be seeing today, like, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, so I got to play the game, and we're just going to kind of walk through a bunch of the stuff that I did. We're just going to start with your settlement. So you are Eivor, and when I first started up the demo, there was Guyvor and Fimvor, who are obviously, the male and female versions. Hashtag Fimvor, absolutely. I really like Guyvor, except now I understand that it's pronounced Eivor, not Ivor. And so Guyvor doesn't quite work as well for me because it doesn't rhyme. So one thing that's interesting about this is when I first started up the game, and I don't think I can actually show this bit, but you have the option to play as Fimvor or Guyvor, and then you also have let the Animus choose.
What?
And if you choose that option, then while you play the game will actually decide. It's not really deciding. It's pretty, determined when you start the game. There are sections where the game has you play as either Fimvor or Guyvor. And if you start the game as male Ivor or female Ivor, Eivor, sorry, it's Eivor. There was like a whole pronouncement guide at the beginning of the conference. It was pretty funny, or not conference, just hands-on time.
Sure.
But anyway, so if you start as one or the other while you're playing the game, you can just go into the options menu and switch to the other if you want to. Which is interesting. So I'm assuming that as part of the modern day kind of story, there's some confusion, there's some mystery surrounding like who this Viking was. You're called Wolf-Kissed, which is, I guess, like, you know, Valhalla's version of Eagle Bearer. And yeah, so I assume that there's mystery about like who your character actually is that like we don't actually know.
Or like they've completely lost the plot on what the Animus is supposed to do.
Yeah, that's also entirely possible, and I think probably way better than what we've had in the past. Because, Alan, I know you like the modern day stuff, but you're nuts.
You were a game developer. Come on, you used the Animus to make video games. Come on, how cool was that?
Anyway, okay, so when the game starts up, you are in Ravensthorpe. So Eivor, damn it! Eivor is a member of the Raven clan of Danes, so Vikings, and you are trying to settle in England or Anglia or Britannia or whatever you call
now is that
landmass at that point in time.
So these games have been so historically focused. Is that settle or quote unquote settle? Like, are they going to rape and pillage, or are they just, like, looking for a new beachside property for a Viking resort?
So it's more than a beachside village. You are trying to, like, settle it. But, from what I've seen, there is only pillaging, there is no raping involved. Okay. Which, personally, I'm totally okay with.
Right, yeah.
But, so you start off the game, or not the game, I started off the demo in Ravensthorpe. And Ravensthorpe is your little settlement. It reminded me of your villa from Assassin's Creed 2. So in that game, you know, you could renovate your various shops and you could generate an income. And that obviously grew throughout the Ezio games. But here it's a little bit different. So there are a number of different buildings and kind of shops that you can upgrade, or actually, first of all, you just build them. They're not there. Then you build a little, hut shack sort of thing, and they have a bunch of different purposes. It doesn't seem like it's as economically driven as the Ezio games were.
Oh, okay.
Instead, it's more about kind of leveling up your village. So your village has a level up bar. And so when I played the game, I had 6 buildings that I could build, and that would take my settlement to the next level. I don't know what's really accomplished by going up in levels. I don't know if you get more buildings to build, or if you can then upgrade your buildings. But some of the buildings have different functions. So one of them was like a grain farm. You have like a cattle farm.
Yeah.
And when you have those buildings, when you have a cattle farm, then you can throw a feast in your village. And when you do that, then you have a timed kind of buff to your character. So you maybe have, you do more damage.
Oh, okay.
Or you have more health, or whatever the case may be. So it seems like it's kind of more directly kind of tied to gameplay rather than just being a financial thing. But there might be some financial stuff to it as well. I'm not entirely sure. And the way that you get resources to upgrade your village is by pillaging other villages, and we'll get into kind of pillaging villages later on in the conversation. But while you're there at your settlement, you can also do other customization sort of things. So one of the very first things that I did was put up a couple of stone monoliths at a couple of places in the village. So you can kind of decorate it with various statues, or you can put a well there, or whatever the case may be. So you can kind of make it look, your own.
That's got me jazzed in the way that Assassin's Creed 2 Villa did. So you're speaking my language here.
I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. So the other things that you can do while you're there in the village is customize Eivor. And that I was really excited about, and I was also a little bummed by the fact that I didn't actually find out about it till towards the end of my video.
Oh no!
But you can change Eivor's hair color, and so at the very end of the game, I started running around with a red-haired, braided Eivor, and so it's basically she became Aloy from
Nice
Horizon.
I was just gonna say,
but you can also you can have short hair. You can change your various tattoos that you have.
Okay.
It all, I don't know. Hopefully, there's a lot more. There was only like 5 tattoos per arm and chest and face and all that kind of stuff.
Are these cosmetics all provided all at once, or is it something you unlock? Are they bringing the Helix currency back? Okay.
No idea. I didn't see anything about Helix currency.
Okay.
I saw basically there was red, blonde, and brunette for the braided hair, red, blonde, and brunette for like a shaved head look, and red, blonde, and brunette for like a short hair look. And that's all I saw as far as hair. And then it was kind of the same thing. You had a couple of different themed tattoos. You had a hell themed, you had a Midgard themed, you had a, all that kind of stuff in terms of like actual tattoos. So there was 4 or 5 different tattoos for chest, back, each arm, and then face. Which I really dug. I enjoyed kind of those little customization things with the clothes that you have on and the armor and all that. Like, you can't really see most of those tattoos, but I know they're there.
You know they're there, exactly.
and that's important.
And I'm sure, if they have any like Witcher style bathtub scenes, you'll be able to see it. You'll see the fruits of your choices. I
really hope there's some Witcher style bathtub.
I mean, more video games could use that, let's be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. This is also at your settlement is also where you can customize your horse and your raven. So as far as I know, your horse doesn't really have a name, but your raven is called Sunan, which I think is like Norse for sight. And I really dug that, but I was able to buy a blue feathered raven instead of just like a pitch black dark one. So it was like a dark, really dark, like midnight blue kind of body, and then the feathers were much lighter. So it was really pretty. You should
That's cool.
see some video of that. And then you can also change out your horse and stuff like that. And I really kind of liked how they had all this stuff divided up, because one little thing that I did not like about Odyssey, and it's really kind of petty, but it's indicative of some issues that Assassin's Creed has had with the way that they do upgrades and like how you access that stuff for a long time. But the way that you change your horse's skin, or change out your horse, really, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, is you go to a blacksmith shop. And one of the options is to buy different horse skins there. Right. And that's really dumb. And this kind of goes all the way back. Really, they've had issues since like Unity, where in that game there are shops, sure, that you can like go to and buy new weapons and armor and clothing, or you could just hit the pause menu and go to customize, and literally every single available option is there for you to buy. So like, I get making things accessible for the player, but it sort of needs to make sense. And so having like going to the guy with the horse stable in your settlement, that makes sense to get new horses there. It'd be great if you had like somebody with an aviary for your bird, but all of your animal needs are taken care of at one place, which makes sense. So lots of kind of customization things there for both your settlement and your Eivor, which I really dug.
That's cool.
You can also customize your longship. So just like in Odyssey, you can change your sails, you can change all that kind of stuff about the ship. You can change the painting on the side. You can change the figurehead at the front and the back, or the bow and the stern or whatever. So all of that was really neat, and like hopefully there are more options there, but hopefully it's not quite as crazy as Odyssey. And from what I've seen from some of the open world stuff, it doesn't seem quite as overwhelming.
That's good.
So just to go ahead and say, in my 6 hours with the game, I didn't complete every side quest, but I completed an entire kind of chapter of the game, and I completed almost all of the open world like side quest events. And when I was looking at the map, I wasn't feeling overwhelmed the way that you instantly do if you look at the map with Odyssey.
Yeah,
good. It's good.
Which, for the record, I am re-downloading Assassin's Creed Odyssey right now. Those who have heard our podcast in the past when we talk about Assassin's Creed will know I do this all the time. I've done it again.
Yes.
So I have a quick question from the back about those side quests. One of the big kind of tent poles for Odyssey was that there were two ways to kind of go about the side quests. There was the, hey, you need to go to this exact spot on the map. And there was the, I believe it was called exploration mode, where it was kind of, it would give you a vague idea and you kind of had to hunt it out for yourself, whether it was by talking with people or just, you know, kind of inferring from different clues. Has that come back for this?
I don't know. There weren't a lot of options in the option menu for the game, so I couldn't customize controls, and I couldn't do a lot of things that you can do when the game is finished. So I don't know if exploration mode and kind of regular mode are back per se.
From the side quests that you did do, did you kind of, were you able to infer any one way or the other, or?
It almost seems like a hybrid.
Okay.
So like one of the side quests, and we'll get to this later on, but I came to a guy who was trying to perfect a stew, and he wants to try eel in the stew. And he's like, I don't think it's actually going to work, but I won't really know until we put the eel in there. And when you get done talking to him, there's no quest marker that appears that says, "Hey, go to this spot, and this is where you fish for eel, or you know, can get eel." And I didn't have any eel to like give him and complete the quest, so I assume that's now just something I sort of need to find, you know, maybe in a river or, you know, towards the coast or something like that. Which, if that's the way that it works, if you get kind of like direct objectives for main missions, and then side quests are maybe a little more loose, that is like, hey, we want you to go fetch this, but we're not saying go fetch 10 eels. It's just like, you need to get an eel, but we're not going to say where to get it. Like, I'm okay with that. I think that's maybe a nice balance.
Tell me more about Leicestershire. I should like to join Sigurd soon.
He traveled to a town called Repton to meet Ubba and Ivar Ragnarsson. As I hear it, they are on the verge of exiling the current king of Mercia, with the hope of installing a king of their own.
A bold endeavor. I should be there to help however I can.
I think you should.
I won't keep them waiting.
Good. I will send word to Sigurd and the Ragnarssons, pledging your assistance. If I were you, I would go by ship. Repton is quite a distance north on the River Trent.
Okay, so I headed to a town called Repton, so I got to sail up a bunch of rivers, which there'll be some videos of sailing your longship, which is really nice. One of the things that I really like about it is that when you put a marker or you have a quest that is active, when you go out onto the river, you can just hit X on the Xbox controller or square on PlayStation, and then you'll just follow the river to your objective marker.
Oh, nice. So, just as a small tangent, I watched the footage of your demo, and I have been waiting for this conversations because I want to hear you pronounce all of these English names that are in this game. So I am very excited. I think there was one point where you were in Leicestershire or something. I don't know.
Leicestershire.
Oh, All right, yeah. So,
So yes, like I said, there was actually a pronunciation guide.
Will there be a pronunciation guide in the game?
God, I hope so. But so I sailed down the river, and I really like sailing down the river. It's not the water is not as active as like the ocean is, or the Mediterranean Sea. In Assassin's Creed 4 or Odyssey, which is a little bit of a bummer because I like those waves, and I would like there to be a little bit more of a current, but at the same time I kind of understand not having that and making it a little easier to sail and everything.
I was a little concerned that there was no singing on.
There is singing.
There is
singing. Yes. I will try to have just all the singing kind of grouped together so people can hear singing all at one time, and you won't hear us talking over it. It'll just be there so people can appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Dark is the shadow thrown,
monastery bound to be rich pickings,
and disorder of the land dethroned. Plans tangle as they go down, a stubborn monarch's head uncrowned. Fiercely eyed and flaming pride, Mercia's men are called to stride. With fire in heart rode the warrior forth, to redden the roads of Repton. The king's God struck by shame, loss has robbed reputed name. No matter what a hero choose, fear that there is none to lose. Award him life or incite the kill. His days remain numbered still. My words gain wing.
Mask!
Odin's mead I thought will bring. For noble deeds thine honor sing. The brave man slain Valkyrie way.
So you can also listen to stories. You can have people on your boat tell stories as well.
Let's hear a story.
Not long before leaving for England, I made a solitary trek into the mountains east of Thornburg. I was looking for elk or deer or other game to bring home. But my luck was poor, and I could find nothing worth my arrows. Coming up over a rise, I saw a rounded mountain ahead of me with a strange narrow slit in the earth, running left to right. There appeared to be fresh water in this crevasse, which was strange, for it was on its side. As I approached, the ground rumbled and the crevasse shuddered. Then it opened, as wide as a lake and ringed with color. Stepping back to take in the view, I realized with a shock what I was seeing. The Eye of Jormungandr, the World Serpent. Yes, he sleeps near Old Fornburg, blessing us with his dreams. Oh, if we could return there now, I would show you the place. One day, maybe. One day I will show you the place.
I could definitely see just sailing around, either listening to singing or listening to people telling stories.
Not gonna lie, that sounds like that's worth the $60/$70 already. So,
so I got to the town of Repton, and I kind of wandered around there for a little bit, and then I met up with two brothers, the Ragnarsson brothers, who were looking to take over Leicestershire, and they want to basically put in a king who will rule for them and not kind of like compete with the Danes. And they're not part of your clan. They're not part of the Ravens. But you know, they are furthering your goal to kind of take over England.
It's not a role I begged for, but it's what Mercia needs just now. A man to fairly rule both Saxons and Danes.
It sounds like you'll be a king in name only, a puppet.
I am doing my part. I hope you have come to do yours. We're going to need all the help we can get for what comes next.
The king has refused our offers of peace. Ceolwulf means to change that. There'll be a new king for a new England.
For now, Burgred is holed up in his fortress at Tamworth, making a final stand.
Another shithole. Only further south.
We've held a siege there for weeks to no effect. So, no more knocking. Now we batter the gate to splinters. If we take Tamworth, remove Burgred and crown Ceolwulf, come morning the Shire is ours. And Mercia soon after.
Yes, remove. I cannot stress that enough. Burgred is not to be harmed. My legitimacy as king hangs on this one simple fact.
You rob all the joy from war, Saxon.
Not every victory needs to be marked by the slaughter of a king.
But it is much better.
His request is fair, Ivar, and we will honor it.
You go on a mission with the two Ragnarsson brothers and your brother, who I've unfortunately, I think, already forgotten the name of. But he looks cool. He's got red hair. He's also got like a braided ponytail and a beard and everything. So, you know, that's cool.
Sure.
And straight from there, you leave with kind of your band of merry men to go to the capital of Leicestershire. That it starts one of the things that I really like about the game. I think it's a huge improvement over Odyssey. So you go to what's the name of the town? It's you obviously wouldn't know. But I don't remember. It's something with a T. I'll figure it out eventually, maybe, or you can just see it on screen.
Look at these pagan rats. Ravenous, unseemly beasts teeming over holy ground.
Have a care, Lord. These pagan rats outnumber us.
I can see that, fool. What do we do about them?
I advise we strongly consider their demands, Lord. We won't survive a fight.
Is that you, Leofrid? How quickly you recover! I'm beginning to wonder if it is a man or a god beneath all that armor.
A man of God stands before you, Ivar. Proud and resolute.
That's Burgred's war thane. Killed a dozen of our men in an ambush along the River Trent. It was Ivar's axe that stopped him.
That is a poor description of a perfect 30-yard toss.
Enough jawing, heathens! Speak your peace! We've come for your crown, Lord.
With or without your head attached.
I admire your ambition, pagan. But what you ask is impossible. No Dane ever has or ever will occupy Mercia's sacred throne.
Would you settle for a Norse? We're not as gentle, but we're much better poets.
Norse, Dane, dog. You're all the same to me. All godless.
My king, may I suggest a more measured approach to this?
I grow weary of this palaver. You have trampled our lands, toppled our monuments. We've given you silver, fed your people. And yet, in spite of all this, your encroachment on my kingdom continues. No more! We will die defending what is ours, whatsoever the cost. If you want my crown, Uber Ragnarsson, you must pry it from the hands of my bloodless corpse. Man the walls!
Back to the camp. Round up the men. We're taking Tamworth tonight!
So you have this big assault on this castle. And so I've played 2 versions of this kind of assault. And so what you have is you have this multi-tiered castle in terms of like you have the outer court and like the inner court and all that kind of stuff. And you have a battering ram. And you, whenever you play, so if you're coming off of your ship, you can blow your horn and your crew from the ship will come and join you. So if you're like doing a raid, it's not a one-person raid. It's not just Cassandra running through a base and killing everybody. Like you have friends there to help you. And that's the same here with these kind of like castle assaults. And so I did one last time and I did one again. And I'm pretty sure this is the new version of like the big battle scene. So in Odyssey, you could engage these battles between Athens and Sparta to basically see who took over an area. And except for the ones you have to do for the story, I didn't do those because I thought they were boring. I did not care for them at all.
No, not at all.
But with this, so you start off, you can either just, kind of stand back and pick people off of the battlements with your bow and arrow, or you can assist with the battering ram, and basically you pull the trigger to charge forward, and then you like manually back up until the charge button on the screen kind of glows, and then you ram it again, and it takes a bunch of different hits. You can guard yourself. You'll see like a ring on the ground that shows you when enemies are firing arrows or going to fire arrows at you, like what that area effect is. And then you ram the door again. You can just like keep ramming it till the door breaks down. Then you kind of go into whatever your first kind of court area is, and you'll have more people on battlements. You'll have people that are on the ground. So you can kind of just stay with the ram bar if you want to, or you can, start engaging in combat around you. And in these situations, one of the big changes to Valhalla is the way that health works. So your health does not auto-regenerate. You have to consume food to regenerate your health. And you have food in your inventory by picking up like berries or finding cooking pots and stuff like that. And so every time you pick up food, it doesn't give you like a unit of food to use towards your health. You'll actually see a ring kind of around there's a heart with a number in it, and then there's a ring around that heart. And as you pick up food, that ring fills up, and once it becomes completely full, then that gives you like 1 ration of food to consume to fill your health back up.
Interesting.
While I was playing it, I could only hold 3 rations of food at a time. So one of the things that I liked in these like really chaotic combat sections was that there's just tons of plants on the ground that you can be running around and like grabbing food.
Okay, good.
So one of the things that's also really good is, so if your health is low and you've used up all of your rations, when you go to pick up food, you don't have to actually fill up that ration bar all the way to have a ration to eat to fill up your food. If if you don't have any rations and your health is low, then instead of filling up like your inventory resource of it, it directly goes ahead and applies to your health.
That's nice.
Yeah, so if you've already used everything, you can just kind of like madly run throughout the battlefield picking up berries and shit to eat, which
hold on,
I
guys,
may or may not have done.
Hold on, someone dropped a berry. Hold on, hold on. No, that's good because like the last thing that you want to do when you're just like inches away from death and like there are enemies coming at you is fumbling.
Like, oh my god, I gotta fill this meter so that I can eat some food.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
I feel like it's a really smart decision. I like it. It makes things a little more tactical than just being able to do like the instant health ability from Odyssey, which I definitely enjoyed because, you know, who doesn't want to just be able to go, healed.
Right, yeah.
but so you continue to kind of make your way into the castle until you get to where the king that you're trying to dethrone is located. And he's obviously not there. You take out some of his like advanced guards, and then you have 2 new quests to do from there that you know, are kind of like your leads on finding this king. And I don't know, it was really fun. Like the battle was a lot of fun. It's a lot more engaging than just the big kind of open battleground where you're just you know, hacking and slashing at a bunch of dudes. It's, I don't know, it's got momentum to it, which I think I talked about in my original preview of it. But now, having played a second one, I'm more confident that this is kind of, again, this is their version of Odyssey's battles. And I like them. I feel like it's a really good improvement. Another really good improvement is you can tell that Odyssey is the people that make Assassin's Creed. That was their first attempt at like a big open world, you know, Witcher / Skyrim style RPG. And one of the things that I absolutely hated about Odyssey is the fact that when you get a new quest, like when you have a chain of quests that are all a part of the same story, they're all individual quests. And when you complete one and get a new one, it doesn't just assign you the new one. Now you need to pause the game, you need to go to quests, you need to go to what the new one is, and you need to select it. And that is dumb. And this game doesn't do that.
Thank God.
So when I completed my assault on the castle, I now had 2 quests beneath the so this was like the Kingmaker Saga is what this story arc that I played was called. And so now there were 2 quests beneath the Kingmaker Saga, and that was great.
That's great. Yeah, I'm hoping that that sounds great, but I'm hoping that if this game does the same thing as Odyssey, where they're juggling like 3 major plot threads, that they just kind of handle them a little bit. Like they juggle them better than Odyssey did. Because like my thing with Odyssey was it just felt like it was easy to get lost in the story, because you know you're juggling all these balls. It's like an amateur juggler. You know, you kind of falter and you don't necessarily drop one, but like it's clumsy. It's not very clean or concise. So hopefully that will be the case with here. And it sounds like it's a step in the right direction based on the quest. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And well, there's also been just another improvement in terms of like, especially the side quest content and stuff like that, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But so I had 2 options. I could go to like the town where potentially the king was taking refuge in, or I could go try to find his wife where she's being like held, like garrisoned in another facility and being protected. So the first, I went with the town where you kind of, it was actually a really cool situation. So one of the things with Valhalla, and again, there's still a lot about this game that I don't know, but you make pledges to different like groups and stuff like that. So at one point I came to this town, so there's this lady named Tana who is like fueling both sides of the conflict between the Ragnarsons and the king. And when I first approached the city, it was red. It was enemy territory. And so if I tried to go in there, obviously they're just going to completely, straight up attack me.
Right.
But when I approached the city as part of this main quest line, I was able to go talk to her, and we basically became buddies. And now this city is not like fully aligned with the Raven clan, with Eivor, but they're not just gonna like attack me outright.
Right.
So I don't know how dynamic these alignments are with different cities. If it's something that you can like break, if it's if it's a meter that you can do bad stuff to this group and they can go, oh, we don't like you anymore, and they they then attack you on sight, or if it's really just a story-based thing that you have to quote unquote earn the trust of all of these different factions and cities or villages and tribes and whatever. Hopefully it's much more dynamic and it's not just a story-based thing, but I don't know. So that leads us to the city that I went. There was a monastery and a bathhouse where my information said that the king could be. And so I went to the bathhouse first, and when I went into the city, Eivor was like, "Oh, we're not friends with these people. I better pull my hood up." And so at any point in the game, you can like pull your hood up over your head, and then so you'll have like a small cape-looking thing on your back all the time, but then you realize it's actually more of a cloak. And so like when you pull your hood up, basically you'll pull the cloak kind of around you to try to go like incognito. So like citizens wouldn't be like, oh my god, there's a Viking here, everybody like call the cops or whatever. But if I went by the guards, then they would be suspicious of me. So it was really kind of neat to kind of go back in a lot of ways to like old like Assassin's Creed 1 and like Ezio territory of you have these cities where the city's not really against you, but you have enemies all over the city that want you to die. So you have this social stealth kind of component to it, which I really liked, and it was neat. And I don't know, I like hoods, and I like it's an Assassin's game, and everybody wore hoods a long time ago, and now nobody wears hoods. And so I really like that you can push down on the D-pad and you get this little radial menu of a bunch of different things you can do. You can call your ship, you can pull out a torch, or you can bring up your hood. And
nice.
I like hoods. So
yeah,
anyway,
for sure.
So I'm in this bathhouse. There was the son of the king, of the new king, the king that I'm trying to put in place. He had kind of tried to prove himself, and he goes in to find the old king, and so you end up having to save him and do this big battle, and that was, cool. It was very Odyssey-esque combat and battle and all that kind of stuff.
Have you lost your mind?
I feared you were one of them.
Keep quiet. What are you doing here?
I was looking for Burgred.
You are Eva's scout.
I hoped I might find Burgred myself and talk him into surrendering, but he's not in Leatherchester.
How can you be sure?
Leofrith passed this way with some men. I eavesdropped. It seems they're only stockpiling food here, but he did say something of interest. Gave orders to send more men to Burgred's wife, the Lady Arvelswith. She's in Templebroch. She would know where Burgred's hiding. You hear that? The sounds of battle.
Eva, let's get you out of here now. Where are you going?
I know my way around. We'll go through the market. This way.
Not much longer!
They're everywhere!
Stay close to me.
What do I do?
Fight, man, fight!
Meet your fate. This place is all mine. Let's drive a well here.
Hide if you can.
Easy. I'll kill you.
Are you hurt? Speak up.
I don't think so. My God. I didn't want it to come to this.
They would have killed you, Chilbert. You had no choice. Now don't move.
Where is your king, Saxon? Where is he?
Lord our Father, grant me salvation.
When does their god find the time to answer so much mumbling and whimpering?
You're reckless, Ivar. Chilbert could have been killed.
Who am I to stand in the light of a boy searching for his balls?
Don't excuse yourself. You enjoy this too much.
Stop. It wasn't Ivar who sent me. I sent myself.
Have caution, boy. Until your father is crowned your Mercia's enemy, not its champion. You understand?
I understand.
Good. Now return to Repton and remain there until we call.
Will you not stay, Wolf-Kissed? There is no king, but we have corpses to loot.
Bergred's Lady Arthelswith is in Templebroth. I'm going to find out what she knows.
And so obviously the king I'm trying to dethrone is not there, so I go do the other mission, which is to find the king's wife. And that you could do very stealthily. I failed to do it very stealthily because I was like, oh, I can assassinate that person. Let's do... Oh, crap, that person saw me. Now I'm running for my life. And that was always fun because that's part of Assassin's Creed. And the wife escapes, then you have to kind of like chase her down, and then you hog tie her and like put her on your horse, which very much felt like a Red Dead Redemption sort of thing.
Did you find some train tracks?
I did not find any train tracks, no.
Oh. I mean, that's good, because that's a horrible thing. I still feel bad for doing that, so.
You should. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's one of the very few achievements in a video game where I knew I could get it, and I knew exactly how to do it, but I never got it. Yep. I don't think. If somebody, goes and looks at my gamer tag on Xbox and finds that I actually did get it, then I apologize. I'm a hypocrite and a terrible person. But I would like to believe... I'm going to believe the version of this story where I did not have a woman run over by train.
You wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
You three, scurry. Lady Atheldswith, I see Burgred has done his best to hide you away. But what is lost must always be found.
Let my handmaidens walk free of this place. They have nothing to do with our quarrel.
You hear that, Eivor? Noble, selfless. This is the sword you must strike a bargain with. A woman of quality. We seek only your king, lady. Tell us where Burgred hides, and we will leave without an ounce of blood spilled.
Please, I don't know.
Effective, Sigurd.
She is only naive to her present danger, but she will soon understand.
Wait. Those are the hands of one who washes linens. A servant. She is a decoy.
Guards, come quickly! They found me!
Watch the handmaidens. I'll follow Atheldswith. You may reconsider, if only for your people. For who knows how many more might die at the hands of us barbarians.
You don't frighten me.
Then you are a fool.
Lady Otherswith, you have seen better days.
God will sear your soul, heathen, if he can find it.
Quite the catch, Eivor. She is as much a poet as you.
Where's my Catelyn? What have you done with her?
Your handmaiden, you mean? The brave one, dressed in royal finery? Season change with the others.
I'll take them back to Tamworth. Get them talking.
If she has so much as a scratch on her.
I will inform Ceolwulf. He might have some ideas on how to get through to her.
I will meet you there. Sigurd, what about these prisoners?
We've got what we need. Let them go.
Then, basically, once you talk to his wife, she tells you that, basically where the king is, and so you then go and find him, and he is held up in the, like, catacombs underneath this church, to the south of where you're at. So this is one of the few areas that does kind of go back to what you were asking about, with the exploration versus, like, normal kind of icons. So basically anytime in the game somebody told me, it's like, oh, you need to go to this town, you need to go to Repton, or you need to go to Leicestershire, or you need to go to Ravensthorpe. Like, the game puts an icon there because you obviously know where it is. But in this mission, the queen is just like, hey, he's at a small village where these two rivers connect. And that's all she tells you. So that's what the quest says, and so I was able to just look on my map and find, okay, this is where these two rivers meet. You know, the game didn't actually say this is exactly where this mission is taking place, but you know, kind of makes sense that this is where I need to go. Right. So I go down there, I sneak into the church, assassinate a couple people, get down into the catacombs, assassinate some more people, get into a fight with the king. And that fight was kind of fun because the king's like, you're never going to take me alive. And Eivor's just like, you know what? I have to take you in, but I can't kill you because the new king wants to, like, imprison you or whatever. So you sheathe your swords, and he's fighting you with a sword, and you're fist fighting him. And it was just this moment of being like, I am so much more badass than you that you have a weapon. I'm just using my fists. So eventually you beat him up and you capture him. And then you escape from the catacombs. I called my horse. I put him on the horse, just like I did his wife. And then I start riding away. And from there, this is also where, like, being able to toggle either follow the river or follow the road comes in super handy. Because then I was able, like, I knew where the quest marker where I was supposed to meet my friends was. And so I was able to do that. And then just kind of, like, you know, spin around on my horse and shoot people with my bow and arrow as I'm escaping. So they're just, you know, all these people are running after me, and horses are coming after me and stuff, and I basically have to ride all the way back to the capital city where my king is now, and I bring the king to him, the old king.
You sought me out, old friend, and here I am, standing before the throne from which I reigned not long ago.
You stand before us to accept this Witten's unanimous decision that you are unfit to rule and are hereby deposed. We demand the abdication of your kingdom and your crown to Thane Ceolwulf.
Mercia has spoken, Lord. The crown.
Is that you, old friend? Ah, yes, I see it now. Forgive me. The robes of righteousness sit so loosely upon your shoulders. If the heavens mismark me as king, forgive its obscuring light. Amen. Now, where is my crown? Forgive my nerves. Here I am, an upright man who never once learned how to bend the knee. And yet, I shall try. Ah, how simple it is. How easy to kneel without fear and feeling.
He's mocking you, man. I'd kill the fucker.
Worry not, Dane. I shall resign this crown, and this pagan-infested kingdom, and the favours of these two-faced men. But I will do so on my terms. My demands are simple. Firstly, you must...
You fool. Look around you. You have no leverage here. Plead for your life, for it is the only thing these men will grant you.
Yes, yes. Forgive me, I... Do not harm me. I beg of you. Please. I'll go anywhere. Here. I resign it. Here.
Take this lord and his wife to Rome. He is hereby exiled, never to return.
The Witan recognizes King Chairwolf of Mercia, second of his name. A just king, a merciful king. God save the king!
It better be worth all this trouble.
Mercian soldiers, marching on Repton!
Leofrid.
Loyal to the ugly and the bastard.
Gather what men you have and split them between the north and south gates. That should divide his forces.
Ceolbert is there. Eivor, you must save my son.
You'll come through this, I promise.
I will stay here with Ceolwulf. Go.
So you have to go to the city, and it's kind of, you know, there's just chaos ensuing, there's battles happening everywhere, and you just sort of, like, make your way to where this general guy is.
Right.
And he's fighting the sun, and the sun is obviously not doing a good job of protecting himself, so you come in and have kind of a boss battle with the guy.
Please, you do not want to do this.
Leofrid, let him walk. You answer to me.
I answer to my king. I silence Danes with this.
Lay it by, Leofrid. There's nothing left to fight for. We've stormed Repton. Only a matter of time.
I cannot do that.
Then you will die.
Someone will.
You can't win this, Leofrid. Even if you defeat me, the Ragnarsons have won the game.
I have fought many a day in my time. I'm still standing.
You're slowing.
Bah!
You're a strong-willed thane. Burgred was lucky.
To stand in the way of you and Mercia is my duty. I will die before I yield.
You're finished.
Not yet. Fight me, heathen!
And then one thing that was really interesting is when you defeat him, it doesn't go into classic like Assassin's Creed mode where you stab somebody and then
Spiritus Sancti.
Yeah, Requiem, Scott and Pace.
Yeah.
It doesn't go
on the blood. Yeah.
Right. You don't go to the classic white environment of like having this conversation with somebody. You actually get the choice whether or not to kill the guy, which he's telling you to kill him now that you've defeated him, or you can let him live. And I thought that was actually really cool because, in a normal game, any other game, that's not a big deal. But in an Assassin's Creed game where you actually get to choose kind of who you're assassinating, that could be interesting.
Any hints that could have any sort of repercussions, consequences?
So, yes.
You have shown me a great kindness. It is only fitting that I do the same. At Venonis, there is a statue with a scroll laid in a small bowl. You must burn it.
A scroll?
Your name is on this scroll. At Burgred's request, I put it there. When it is found, the zealots who read it will hunt you.
Who are they?
It doesn't matter now, you haven't much time. Burn the scroll, or they will never stop hunting you.
Where will you go now?
Rome.
Come on, let's take you back.
So here is where we get to start flowing into kind of the more open world side content kind of stuff. This is the stuff that I'm most excited to talk about, honestly, in terms of content. So when I spare this guy, because I'm a nice person, I don't just kill people.
You're a nice Viking. You're Eric the Viking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I spare him, he's like, you've shown me a kindness, so I'm going to show you a kindness. I put out a basically hit on you, and there is a scroll in this place, so you need to go find it and destroy it. That way, people don't start coming after you.
There's a wanted poster.
Basically.
A wanted scroll.
Yes, there's a wanted scroll. But that ties into this game's versions of the mercenaries. So you have zealots throughout the world.
Okay.
So the thing here is, if I had killed him, I wouldn't have known about this scroll, and zealots or mercenaries, I guess it would have essentially increased my wanted level, like you had in Odyssey. But I was able to go to this spot and burn the scroll, and then there was a message that popped up and it was like, "Hey, zealots are not going to come after you, but beware, they are dangerous foes." And that was really neat. So that was kind of the first. That was the first option, or that was the first opportunity where a choice that you make in dialogue actually seemed to have gameplay repercussions, as opposed to whether or not Cassandra is just mean or sarcastic or whatever the case may be,
or sleeps with everybody.
Or I mean that's not an option. We're talking about Greece here. Everybody sleeps with everybody. Okay, that's the most accurate thing about any Assassin's Creed game ever, was the fact that you can sleep with young men, you can sleep with old women, everybody's up for sex.
Cassandra don't care. She's down for everybody.
Absolutely. I don't think Vikings are quite as horny as Greek people, or at least ancient Greeks. I don't know about modern Greeks. I've never been there. But if Greek mythology and Greek history is anything, then
If the Vikings show on History Channel has taught me anything, then they're down to go.
Fantastic. Good to know. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough to go on then.
Yeah.
So from there, I kind of just ran around and did a bunch of side content. I did some of it earlier, but I'm grouping all of it here in terms of video. I really enjoyed the side content here. I'm not gonna say it's quite Witcher quality, but there's one specific side quest in Odyssey that I love, and it's actually watching somebody else's video on YouTube where they talked about this one quest is what ended up making me go, maybe I would actually like this game, because at Odyssey's point, I had not played an Assassin's Creed game in to any actual attempt. I had not really wanted to play an Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag.
Sure.
And so there's a quest in Odyssey that is a kind of retelling homage of the Oedipus trilogy.
Oh yeah.
And it's great because the character's name is Supidio, which is Oedipus backwards. And so you can, instead of Supidio actually being Oedipus, you're basically Oedipus, and you can like kill his dad and sleep with his mom while trying to help him like meet his parents and all this kind of. It's really great. And I remember seeing that video, and I was like, "Holy cow, that's awesome!" And so this, like, pretty much everything that I played was more on that level. Again, not saying it's Witcher 3 level, but it was definitely more enjoyable than most of the side content that I experienced in Odyssey. So there was one quest where I'm just riding along the river.
Hold on, good scout.
Has me trapped in this sultry tower.
A challenger approaches!
Oh, bless!
Step back, Dane. I am sworn to this lady, and unafraid to kill the likes of you.
If you're going to hold someone against their will, it would be wise to gag them.
I am Thane Tarquin. Lady Annis belongs to me. I told you to leave! No more! I yield! Find another champion, lady!
Strange. It is over. You can come out now.
Tarquin? My Thane! What has happened?
Your captor fled. Felt a little soft for my liking. What are you really doing in there?
Oh God, no! It was only a game. A romp. My dear Tarquin, how could you?
I saw a man holding you against your will.
All a part of the seduction. Oh God, you really thought my life was in danger. And you risked your own. Oh, you are so brave. A fine protector.
Tell me you're joking.
Please, you must fight for me. Who knows what lurks below? What vile people might come to harm me? I need a protector, stout and resolute. Please, stand guard below.
If I do, will you come out?
Oh, assuredly. Just stand at the door below. That will place you directly between me and any bad men.
Trouble coming.
Oh, good.
Real trouble. Keep quiet.
Oh, woe is me! A king's daughter who had run away from her royal house with all of its rare jewels in tow.
Huh? Well now, I'd say that's worth a look.
Ugh.
That's enough!
You've done it again! Oh, I think we are destined to do this forever.
I think it is time I take my leave.
And that was it. It took like 3 minutes to complete, and I chuckled, and it was great. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Another one that I kind of already mentioned, but there's a side quest where I came up to this guy and he's like, hey, I'm making this stew and I think I need to try eel. And it's just like, the weirdness of it is like, okay.
Smells good.
Oh, please. I'm irritated enough already. The last thing I need is someone lying to my face.
It is a compliment, Saxon. Take it. What are you brewing anyway?
I call it Leicestershire sauce.
That is a mouthful. What is wrong with it?
It doesn't come close to meriting such a sizable name. That's what's wrong with it. And I've tried. Lord, have I tried. But I cannot, for the life of me, strike the perfect balance. I should just give up.
As I look around, that is hard to argue.
You wouldn't happen to be carrying an eel, would you?
Not the first thing I grab when I set off for the day. No.
I've fished everything in Leicester but the eel.
And you think this elusive river snake could be the answer to your sauce woes?
There's only one way to know for sure.
All right. If I wrangle one, I shall bring it to you.
Yes, please. I must try, if only to rule it out. Thank you.
You know, if you told me you wanted to, like, you wanted 5 boars to put in this stew, then I'd be like, oh, hell, not again. But because you're like, I want eel, I'm like, okay, I will go do that for you, sir. I didn't actually go do it. I was kind of just trying to clear the map of markers at that point.
You're in a time crunch. When the full game comes out, you will definitely
find
eel
man
for that
some
man.
eel. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So does this have the potential to turn into a Oblivion or Skyrim, where it's like you end up spending more time on side quests than the actual story?
So.
Okay.
I hope so. So, So I think my time was pretty much half and half. It's hard to tell because I did some side quests while basically any time that I was on the river while going towards the main objective, and there was an icon that popped up, raid, I would be like, yes, please. Or when I heard the lady crying out to be protected, I was like, oh, I will come, you know, I will spring this trap myself. But there was another quest, which might have been my favorite one.
We will not leave you, Editha, no matter the danger, no matter the risks. We do this together or not.
Don't you know it's forbidden to consort like this under God's roof?
Take what you want, heathen. Just leave us be.
You must be the abbess here. Why do you hide in a musky old church?
We are not hiding. We sought to flee the Shire in the midst of this ungodly war. But in our haste to leave, I lost my crozier, fell into the hands of some guards in a camp just below, and I am not leaving without it.
Dangerous endeavor for 3 sisters of the cloth. What is your plan? You gonna bore them with Bible passages until they give it back?
Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
It just may work. Or better yet, I can get your crozier back.
You would help us?
Mercian soldiers make good practice. And now I'm invested in your plight. Lead the way. How long since you fled the ministry?
Must be weeks now. We had no plan and no help. We just knew we had to get out of Leicester, whether it is Burgred on the throne or one of yours. Makes no difference. Their reign would be less than godly. No offense.
None taken. We will attack on sight here.
This is the camp. One of them has my crozier.
The abbess's crozier should be somewhere in this camp.
Eyes open, just in case.
Read the word! You'll do! Take long!
Crowseer. I have it.
Let's go! Down to the river!
You're unlike any sisters I have seen. Bare-fisting armed men like that.
I can do all things through him who strengthens me. We Christians take matters into our own hands well enough. We are nearly there. Lincolnshire is on the other side. Wolves! Not today, devils. Not today! That is far enough. Sisters, gather around. Let us pray to the Lord our God and thank him for watching over us.
Your Crowseer.
The Lord sent me a shepherd to help lead my flock today. Thank you. You did not have to do what you did.
There is truth to that. You would have done fine on your own. I will never look upon Sisters of the Cloth the same way after today.
And I will never look upon heathens the same way. Farewell.
It's awesome.
It was so great. There was another kind of side quest where I found this guy who was either drunk or high or on shrooms or whatever the case may be, and he's like, I am going to write my legend!
I am one with the earth, with the air and water and fire and... What is the other? Clouds! Tree bark. What is that smell?
Easy, friend. I think you may have eaten something that did not agree with you.
Today, my saga is writ! Glory! Ah, a brave steed has swept me up. Onward to my loyal companion!
If I don't stop him, something or someone less forgiving will. I should stay close by, wait for him to tire.
Am I crying? I feel sick in my body, but it is my Hugur that will prevail! I will take on any challenger, be it on 2 legs
Best
or
not to draw attention here.
if you dare! Fight me! You'll be honored to add to my legend! This victory I will add to my growing saga! Let's play There is no fight I will flee, and should the gods answer my call, so be it. They too will feel my wrath. Time to feed the crows. I think I can. Yes, it appears so. I have the strength of 1,000 Thors! I cannot be stopped!
You keep this up, you're going to get yourself killed. Are you hearing me?
Yeah! Loud and clear! Now stand aside so that I may fulfill my destiny! Yeah! I cannot feel my lips or my nose. Why does the sun burn so hot?
I'm going to have to drag you back myself, eh?
I have been struck by a sudden wave of... tired. I am tired. Oh, if my mother could see me now. There is no resisting this lasting legacy I have forged. A wise man said it best. To resist is to piss in the wind. My saga is complete, and it is the envy of all who came before, and all who are yet to come.
Your Skuld.
Gods! Is he dead?
No, but he should be. Seems the gods disagree this time. Splash water in his face and keep your distance. You'll throw up something fierce.
Thank you for the advice. Send for your trouble, which is now my problem.
So great.
And then let's see, there was another mission where there was an old, well, he was supposed to be an old Viking.
Care to sing a song?
That song. You have spent some days on a longship.
Oh, many. See this salt-blasted hair? It took a pummeling over the years. All that seawater. Feels like hay now.
Better keep away from the horses then.
You are very quick, and sturdy by the looks of you. But you are not from that Ragnarsson camp there in Repton. I would have recognized you.
I belong to another clan. What are you doing away from yours?
I have been cast out. Too old, too frail. Dead weight, as they say. I will have to get used to watching the sights of war from afar now.
No shame in that. Not many of us can say they lived long enough to simply retire. You have earned it.
But have I? Or have I missed my chance? I thought I knew what lay ahead, but now that is foreign to me.
Embrace it. Sail the seas, write your songs, and bellow out on the winds. Sounds nice to me.
You are far too young to speak so wise. There is a bright future for you and your clan. I would like to add to it. Take this key, and if you find yourself in Repton, seek out my quarters near the docks. There is a large tree out front. Inside you will find a few of my most prized items. Take them. I no longer have any need.
You honor me.
Call it a gift from the old guard to the new. Odin guide your way, young drengur.
This must be that old raider's place. He said he wanted me to have his things. This crate is filled with songs. Must have taken a long time to write them all out. I should return it to the old raider. Is that everything? These are some trinkets you left behind, old man.
Ah, you've come back. Why are you wasting your time with me?
This crate has all of your written songs. This is not a gift I can accept or repay. You'll want to revisit these someday. They should stay with you.
I had forgotten all about them. Something to work at on this new journey of mine.
You have only the setting sun to tell you when to stop.
And maybe not even then. That is twice you have earned my admiration. Please, tell me your name.
Eivor.
Eivor. If the gods will it, I will find my seat at Odin's table before you. And there I will speak of you so that when the time comes to claim your seat, they will greet you by name. Farewell.
And that was pretty much all that quest. Like, all of these quests were like very short and sweet, but like, I don't know, they were dense with enjoyment. For the most part, it wasn't like super combat heavy quests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were pretty light. There was one quest that I have no idea where it's going. I don't know if it's something that I have to come back to as you progress through in the game. But I get to this. It was the last side quest that I kind of did. I got to this tree, and there's this little girl staring at the one leaf that's left on this tree.
Careful, please! This leaf cannot fall. The wind is strong, but you are stronger. Just hold on. Stay back. Do not touch this tree.
All right. What is your name?
May.
Eivor. Something about this tree important to you?
It's the leaves. My father said he would return home before they'd all fall into the ground. And now, only one remains.
And still no return?
It's been 6 weeks. 6 weeks since he's gone to Lincoln in search of work. I wish he stayed. Just one more season. He was so sure the fields wouldn't yield, but we could have tried.
Your father sounds like an honest man. Went looking for work to take care of you. He would make every effort to return home, and that is reason enough to hope. But this, it serves no purpose to fret like you are.
Then what should I do?
Carry on, as if you were to return tomorrow, no matter what happens to this leaf.
Yes. Yes, I shall do as you say. My father would want the same. Thank you, Eivor. Maybe I'll wait just a little bit longer. Till the goats begin to bray, or... Yes, a little longer.
Which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah,
and
all this sounds just like really exciting. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know they're like the modern Assassin's Creed games have had color like that, but I don't know. It just in this context, in this setting, it sounds cool, and like I'm very excited.
It was all quite enjoyable. So when I finished that conversation, though, the quest wasn't completed. There was actually still a marker there. So I'm hoping that like I'll leave and return and maybe, you know, talk to her again. I don't know if time passes in this game kind of the way that it used to. Like in Odyssey, it's kind of just all one time period. You don't have a 5-year or 20-year gap like you do in the other ones. So that might be the case here, where, you know, as you're doing stuff, you get a 20-year leap. And so maybe I can go back and she's, you know, in her 20s or something like that. And now,
or
maybe her dad didn't return, or he did, or, you know, whatever.
Or you could probably just fiddle with the system clock.
See what happens. Well, yeah. It's, I have no idea. Like, I was just saying, I don't know how that actually
Sure. Of course. So, I've got a couple questions.
Yes.
So you mentioned it a while back, that you are doing, you know, you're assassinating targets. I'm when you were trying to find the king and you're assassinating target. I'm assuming you're sneaking around and all this stuff. You do have the wrist blade, correct?
Yes.
And now I pride myself in being the only person at Dark Station who actually really deeply cares about the lore of Assassin's Creed. Did you get any inclination as to how your character ends up with it, at least in the demo? Or
not really.
Okay.
So I do know from what I've read about the game and stuff that like somehow you meet some assassins and stuff like that. And one of the things that I do know from either it was an interview or a video or something like that, I think it may have actually been the launch trailer, was that when Eivor gets the hidden blade, there was something mentioned about, like, you know, classic assassins, it's actually supposed to be hidden, but Eivor's like, no, this looks too badass, I'm gonna have it on the top of my forearm instead of underneath.
Yep. Any indication that she had to cut her finger to use it? Does she have a missing finger?
Not that I noticed.
Okay.
And being on top of the arm, I wouldn't see how that would work with fingers.
Sure,
so.
That's true. Okay, that's not a gotcha then, Ubisoft. We had the Cult of Cosmos. You mentioned the Zealots. Does that feed into any pre-Templar organization that you could see in the demo?
No. So I don't think there's anything that's pre-Templar per se.
Okay.
I think you will be up against Templars, and that's more from there's a trailer that recently launched. It's like a story trailer, and you see some people that have like brooches on their cloaks that are straight up that kind of equilateral cross, the kind of classic Templar cross. So I'm pretty sure you're up against Templars. I got no indication of kind of hitless network like you had with the Cult of Cosmos.
Right.
I think the Zealots are more akin to the mercenaries in Odyssey rather than the Cult of Cosmos. I would really like maybe the Kings are kind of your hit list sort of thing, but I didn't give you the indication.
So okay, cool, very cool.
So in terms of the other side content that was not really like story based but just more gameplay stuff, there is a dice game in here that I was really hoping was more akin to Dice Poker from The Witcher 2, and it is not. It is it's intense. I will not be playing this.
This will do. This game is as good as over. Few blows from death now, stranger.
Could have been anyone's game.
I'll give you a chance to win your honor back.
I don't know. It seemed neat, seemed interesting for the people that enjoy that kind of stuff. But immediately going into it, I was like, no. So later, kind of roaming around the world, there are a bunch of different places where you can find these like ancient tomes it's like tomes of knowledge, I think is what they're called. And so the way that leveling up in the game works is different than in Odyssey. So every time you level up, every time you get, your experience bar fills up all the way, you get 1 or 2 experience points, and you put experience into mostly stat buffs, but it's this Constellation style, like very it's a very Skyrim-esque kind of map, except that everything is interconnected. So instead of being like, fill out this constellation to upgrade your sneaking abilities, everything, it starts from the center and kind of spirals outward from there. And you have your kind of, your stealthy tree, you have your range tree, and you have like your melee tree. And they'll reconnect kind of in certain places. But basically, all of the nodes along the way, like so you have like ability nodes, and then you have stat buff nodes. You'll have to fill out multiple stat buff nodes on your way to a particular ability. So abilities will be things like being able to assassinate stronger targets, like high value target, generals or whatever the case may be, instead of just common foot soldiers. Right. Or it might be things like being able to do increased melee damage when you're sprinting towards an enemy. So that would be an ability. And then stat buffs is just like, increased stealth by 2%, increase range damage by 14%, or whatever the case might be. And so you're basically kind of just like moving throughout the tree, moving throughout the constellation to pick these various different things. And one thing that I thought was really cool is you can just respec at any time.
Oh, nice.
And it, like, I don't think it even costs like game money or tokens or anything.
Oh, good.
You can just press a button and be like, you know what? I messed up. This is a bad build. Let's start over. Which, I'm totally down with.
Yeah, for sure.
So, on the other side of that, your like big abilities that get like a face button, so your like dual axe throw or your rush and bash, where you just kind of like run towards an enemy and like pick them up, and then if you get towards a ledge, then you just throw them off. So it's like the Viking version of the, you know, Spartan kick.
Nice.
So those abilities are earned by finding these tomes of knowledge out in the world. And so that's what fills out your kind of ability tree, which is separate from your skill tree. And your ability tree is what, you know, you get the 4 face buttons for melee type abilities and 4 face buttons for ranged abilities. And the way that you activate those are just like in Odyssey. And so if you find a Tome of Knowledge and it gives you a new ability, then you can assign that to a face button. And then later, if you find I believe there are 2 Tomes of Knowledge for each ability. So the way that you upgrade an ability is you find the other Tome of Knowledge. I don't think it matters which one you find first. Just one of them gives you the ability, the other gives you the upgraded version of the ability.
Cool.
So obviously there's still synchronization points.
Of course, because this is an Assassin's Creed game.
Absolutely. There are a couple of like even kind of looser kind of mini game sort of things. So I found there's one area that had these like tall monolith stones that when you engage the eagle sense, which here I believe is called Odin Sight, and it gives you like this flash that highlights interactable objects and stuff like that. But when I did that in this area, it showed me these markings on these giant stone monoliths, and so what I had to do was then kind of like line up the stones at the right space so that the drawing on all of them, you know, meshed together and made a rune picture thing. And that gave me a skill point. And then another thing that I did was I found some mushrooms, and I did some mushrooms.
Before crossing a new threshold, take care, for it is difficult to know what foes lie in wait beyond.
It was probably the least engaging of the side activities, but it was rewarding. So
fantastic in more ways than one.
So another thing that I think I talked about in the last time was cairn stacking. So you'll find a thing of like 4 or 5 rocks, and then there'll be just this blue circle on the screen where it's like, this is where you have to build. You have to build all your rocks to pass this point, and they can't fall over, obviously. So you just pick them up in like 3D space, and physics, you know, has a role. So if you put a rock that's not like flat, then when you let go of it, it'll kind of like either roll or move so that it's more stable. And it's the 2 that I've done now were not challenging. Like they're not hard, but I don't know. They're kind of relaxing. I don't know.
Do you think hard mode is going to have, like, one of your Viking friends is going to come over and he's just going to yell at you, trying to distract you, or he just kicks the rocks over when you're done, like, you know?
God, I hope so. Maybe. That'd be great. No. I've no idea. And then the kind of last, like, not story-based thing that I did was I found a fight club to participate in. and I could earn. So the guy that runs the Fight Club always speaks some rhyme, which was kind of interesting, I guess.
All right.
And I just got to beat some people up with my fists, and I would earn like 100 gold or 100 silver. When I want to fight, and that was kind of all there was to that.
Perfect. No fuss, no muss.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I want to talk about is raids. So basically, when you're going down the river, you'll see Y or triangle appear on the screen, PlayStation or Xbox, and it'll just say raid. And so if you press that, then that means there's a little it could be a little encampment or it could be a larger encampment. That you'll then, the boat will turn and you will kind of crash up onto the shore, and everybody runs out, and it's you and all your buddies going to town fighting whoever this settlement encampment thing is. And I played a couple. Like one was there were a few that were very small, like maybe a dozen guys, and there were 2 small chests to get some silver and some resources and stuff like that. They weren't not worth it, but they weren't really, like, I don't know, didn't give you a ton.
Right.
But then you can find these other, like, actual, like, small villages that maybe have a couple of buildings. Maybe one's a church or something like that. And as you're playing, you have to, like, break into the church, either, like, bust down the door or whatever. And then you'll find these large chests that you can open up, and you actually have to get one of your Viking friends to, like, come over and help you. And you'll, shove the top off, kind of like an Indiana Jones sarcophagus, and you'll get resources. You'll get raw materials and other resources, and those all go towards upgrading your settlement. And while you're fighting, you'll also, like, your allies can go down, but you can go up and, like, revive them. They can't revive you from anything that I've seen. But I don't know. I really kind of liked the more kind of team play dynamic that existed here, as opposed to, again, going back to Odyssey, where you just have this, like, literally very flat battleground where just people are fighting and you're just kind of mashing attack. And here it's it's more coordinated. You actually have people that's, like, you can revive, and they matter because, like, you have to have a buddy with you to be able to open these chests to get your resources and stuff like that. Okay. And as you're fighting, like, everything kind of catches on fire. So I don't think there's anything like, Far Cry kind of fire propagation, but it's kind of cool just to, like, as you're taking over and raiding this little settlement, you can see, like, the visual destruction that you're causing.
Neat.
It's quite neat. And then I think that was the end of my time. I think that's pretty much all the things that I covered. There was a lot.
And it sounds like you're eager to go back, when it comes out.
Like I said, this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2 Viking Edition, and I am down for that.
So actually, now that I think about it, but since we're kind of getting to the part where we're wrapping up, I have one more question, and you may or may not be able to answer just because I haven't really heard anything about it during development. But so Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins are games that took their settings, Egypt, ancient Egypt, and essentially Greek mythology. And the worlds that you are in are just these, despite having, grounds in reality, seem very fantastical places. For Pete's sake, in Origins, you end up in the Field of Reeds. Like, you go to the Egyptian afterlife and tour around in, like, one of the most, like, staggeringly beautiful places in the game. And Odyssey is essentially Clash of the Titans, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. You're fighting Cyclopses. You go to freaking Atlantis. And I'm in watching your footage here for Valhalla. I don't want to knock our, English listeners, but, as pretty as it is, like, Britain doesn't seem to have that sort of fantastical visual aesthetic. Like, this is a magical land. I mean, this is the land where you have the Lady of the Lake, and like this is, there's a lot of there's a lot of mysticism and fantasy kind of connected to Origins and Odyssey, and I don't see that much here. Do you get any of that in the game? I mean, you're the Norse, so is Thor gonna show up? We know there's some connection to Odin because there's the Odin site instead of the Ego Vision. Like, do you get any impression that there's like any like degree of fantasy or I want to say there's a like or mythology or anything like that?
Maybe. Maybe there are things I can't talk about.
Okay, yeah. It just seems very interesting that like there's a clear almost a drastic. I mean, based on the video, that there's such a drastic. Like, if anything, it feels like in some of the pieces, like it really captures how often like rainy and wet and muddy. You see a lot of the Viking TV show, like just everything's dirty, everything's very earthy than the past two games. So I'm just curious if there's going to be any sort of fantastical element to it, beyond the what we know already.
I may or may not have seen something that is related to fantasy.
Okay.
But as far as the muddy kind ofness of it, so that is kind of held in balance with a lot of just like really beautiful sunsets and light work.
Not to suggest the game doesn't look good; it looks gorgeous, but
right. No, but like at one point I'm riding down the river, and the sun is sort of like starting to set. It hasn't. It's going towards the horizon, but that means that it's kind of casting these long shadows through the trees. And I'm going down the river, and I move the camera, and you can actually you can see the shadows of the trees, their silhouette through your longboat's sails, and like it's really gorgeous. So yes, there's some nasty, muddy, just run down rain grossness that you would expect from England, but there's also some really remarkable beauty. But as far as any sort of fantasy stuff, I may have seen something related to that, but I can neither confirm nor deny.
Got it.
Senator.
Got it. So you heard it here, folks. Thor's in the game, and he's partnered with Hawkeye.
Black Widow may be there too. We don't know.
Sweet. How about Kamala Khan? Does she show up at all? Maybe.
I can only assume. Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Sold.
Absolutely.
If I wasn't sold before, I'm sold now.
But yeah, that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Cool.
We are, as of this recording, we are now less than a month away. And I'm very excited to experience it. There's a good chance this will be the first, Xbox, new Xbox game that I play.
Yeah. I think I'm going to, as is tradition now, when I got my PlayStation 4, my first game for that was Black Flag as opposed to the PS3 edition. So yeah, I'm definitely planning on picking this up. You've made me even more excited between this conversation and looking at that footage, and me downloading both Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey again. Yeah, I am down for it. again, as being that very, very small percentage, am interested to see how they're going to wrap up their barely there present day story. So yeah, looking forward to it, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
You are absolutely welcome. So going back to the story, as far as present day stuff goes, there was one element in the game that I can talk a little bit about, but I can't show. It's called Animus Anomalies. And it was these kind of like platforming sections where you're moving these beams of light to either create or destroy, or not destroy, but uncreate. Like basically you had these platforms that if you moved electricity in the path, then the platform would become solid and you could move on it. And basically you're trying to get to this node of information. And that was, so those are still in the Animus, but they're directly related to like modern day stuff. They seem to be more gameplay oriented rather than like actually getting story information from it, but who knows? I don't. That's
right.
So, but yeah, as far as the rest of like the modern day stuff, you know, they're always super tight-lipped on that. So I have no idea about anything. I don't know.
Sure.
All I know is that in present day 2020, Jonathan Miley is excited to get his hands on Assassin's Creed Valhalla when it comes out on November 10th for all the stuff. It's coming out on Xbox One and Xbox Series and PS4 and PS5 and obviously PC and probably Stadia. I don't know about that one actually, and I'm not gonna research it. You can go find out for yourself. But it looks cool. Super stoked for Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2 Viking Edition. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, Alan, thank you for sitting down with me and chatting about the game.
Thank
you to anybody that has listened to us ramble on or has watched this video. I know this is very long, but there's a lot to show, and I hope you enjoy it. So if you want to find out more about the game, you can see our previous coverage or our review coming out probably soon on darkstation.com. You can see other videos on our YouTube channel. You can find us on Twitter at darkstation_com. You can find us on Facebook. You can email us at podcast@darkstation.com. And yeah, that's all of that. Thank you all again. Be safe out there. Be good to one another. And, you know, yeah, have a good one. And we'll all be able to assassinate British kings in, you know, as Vikings here very soon. So until then, I don't know, go assassinate other people in other Assassin's Creed games, maybe, or not.
Yeah.
Go play something else. I don't know. Do whatever you want to. It's 2020. The rules are gone. I don't know. So yeah.
Bye.